forgot to adjust the camera before I went live. That's kind of a thing. Here, how we doing? Hello. I also forgot to turn the air off. So hopefully you guys can live with that. Maybe I should go turn the air off. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Alright, much better. Yeah, the air will take up a lot of like audio pollution, and we don't want that. How are we doing? Happy Monday, happy Tuesday, April 13th, 2021. Man, last night was an interesting night for NBA DFS. Hopefully you guys made it out on the right side of profit. Wasn't a ton of value pre-flop, but a lot of high-end guys overperforming to kind of make up for the lack of value. Let me get the right chat on the screen. Boom. Boom. Here we go. Last night, Steph Curry, 69 fantasy points. Russell Westbrook, 68.5. De'Aaron Fox, 62. Jokic, 58. With Jamal Murray in, but Jamal Murray going down with an unfortunate, looks like ACL. Julius Randle, like all the high-tier guys we thought should do well, did well. But the value just wasn't apparent going into the slate. And that's kind of how it played out. There wasn't like a ton of 4K guys to... or at least obvious 4K guys to kind of make those top ends happen. So we saw some wonky lineups up top. If you guys made it out alive, congrats to you. Was a slight profit night, but I did have 30% Mo Bamba last night. He played 3 minutes and got injured. So that really put me behind the 8 ball early. But having an aggressive amount of Curry, Fox, Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, guys like that kind of helped out since there was no, value guys to be too egregious. And I also had J-Val. So hopefully you guys did well. If not, tonight's slate's looking like we're going to have plenty of value, as a lot of people are out and or doubtful and or questionable and or I don't know. Like, I don't even know if I'm available tonight. It's pretty thick. What's up, chat? Shout out to Quan. What's up, Dez? Dang Lazy Mofo, Young C, Pete, Gun Part 2 dropping a lot. Hey, man, we just trying to get it. We just trying to get it in where we fit it in. And tonight we have just 6 games, a late lock, 6-game slate for NBA. So we'll be able to focus a little bit more on baseball leading up to that 6 p.m. kind of like yesterday. Like I was able to knock out my baseball, and then I had 30 minutes to get right for my basketball. So it looks like it's going to be a little bit more of the same today. And yeah, Raj told me yesterday he was going to be there, and then today he was like, yo, for real, not going to be there. So it's just going to be me and you guys and me, just the two of us. So if some news drops while we're breaking down games, be sure to keep me honest. Drop that info in the chat, spam it, and yeah, we'll try to navigate game by game here, try to come away with some of our best plays, our favorite plays, and some of maybe some game theory, huh? A little bit of game theory. The 3 p.m. Fantasy Labs tweet where they give us information to watch. Trae Young, questionable. Terry Rozier, doubtful, joining a long list of Hornets that won't play. Andre Drummond's questionable. Danilo Gallinari, doubtful. Jordan Clarkson, Clarkson's doubtful. Dennis Schroeder, probable. Kyle Kuzma, probable. Royce O'Neal may join Jordan Clarkson, or Jordan Clarkson may join Royce O'Neal. We'll put it that way. As he's been rolled out, Joe Ingles has been rolled out, leaving the Utah Jazz pretty short-staffed from the core player minutes eaters like Ingles, Clarkson, and O'Neal. Those could be 90 to 100 minutes of usual game time to replace. Last I looked, they were very sizable favorites. So maybe there's some value in trusting the Thunder to be too dumb to know that they're supposed to lose. Anything other big? Marc Gasol listed as questionable, as is Drummond. Marc Gasol last night, if you had some Drummond shares, he came in late in the game, drained a three. So many things about that statement were notable. First of all, him coming in, not playing the entire game, and coming in the fourth quarter over Drummond at first. It's kind of like, what are we doing? Leaving Drummond at just 25 minutes. Then him hitting that three, actually, I think that matched Drummond's real points. So Drummond was not a part of the offense yesterday. And then Montrezl Harrell saw 15 minutes. So it's a complete nightmare crap show at the center position. You want to believe that Drummond's the guy that should be winning the seesaw battle in minutes, but it's very, very ugly. It's like a higher profile Wizard situation with Len, Robin Lopez, and Gafford, guys like you just, is it a triple split? Is there enough that nobody eats? That's kind of what we're dealing with. But with Marc Gasol questionable and Andre Drummond questionable, if one or the other were out, it could open up the pathway to either a Drummond or a Montrezl Harrell for me. We'll see. We also have Kuzma questionable in that one. What else did we want to touch on news-wise? Without three of the big guys for the Jazz, we might be leaning on the Jazz for some value. And then the Hornets are going to be kind of hard to read, right? If you guys are playing at early slate, you got lineups for that showdown between the Wolves and the Nets. Chioza, Harris, KD, Green, Claxton. What a lineup up against Rubio, Edwards, Okogie, McDaniels, and Naz Reid. So have fun. Good luck on that showdown. I would imagine Naz Reid is the guy you want the most of. And then you go from there, right? What's up, Gun? What's up, Crispy? Joe Val's always low owned. Yeah, I thought yesterday was a little bit more obvious, but I also like at the high end, I can't fault anyone for any which way they went, right? De'Aaron Fox, Donovan Mitchell, Steph Curry. I loved the Steph Curry versus Jokic thought process there. Jokic 50 wasn't like crazy for his price, but Jokic is definitely, like, if he was already the odds-on favorite to win MVP, but now with Jamal Murray done for the year, Jokic is going to be essentially the point guard for that team. I would also probably expect them maybe to look for, I could see Isaiah Thomas going to Denver when his 10 days up in New Orleans. We'll see. And then Denver's going to have to lean on like Monte Morris a little bit more, Facundo Campazzo. But I could see Isaiah Thomas picking up a job now. We'll see. Trae Young being questionable, that's very notable. Last time we saw Brandon Goodwin draw the start, play a ton of minutes, and we'll chop that up as we go. We also have some more info from that game as well. So let's go on, jump into it. Throughout the duration of this stream, we're going to be using the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet. You guys know the drill. You want access to it. It is a perk of having a premium subscription at RunDFS.com. Get yourself signed up. Click VIP passes. Boom. Find a week pass. Find something that's right for you. There's a month pass. There's All-Star break pass. There's the rest of baseball, which will get you locked until October, which is an incredible value because it's going to finish up NBA. It's going to get you all of baseball, and it's going to get you that first month of football. I think it's only like $400. That's going to be daily spreadsheets, daily Discord access, all that good stuff. So check it out. Discord, the home of millionaires. And a lot of really hungry grinders. If you guys want a free week of RunDFS.com VIP and you haven't tried PrizePicks yet, we have a pretty nice special going on. Not only do you still get to enjoy that deposit bonus up to $100, well, you sign up, put 100 in, they're going to make that 200 of playable funds, but you'll also get a free week of RunDFS.com VIP. If you do take advantage of that offer, be sure to DM me on Twitter or on RunDFS.com. Be like, yo, I did this, and then tell me your name that you signed up with, like your real name, and then every day they send me a list of names and emails that signed up, and once I verify it, boom, you get a week pass added for free. and you get access to the spreadsheets, and we have some tools that you can use to help your PrizePicks journey along the way. And if you're already a RunDFS.com subscriber and you want to add on an extra week, same deal, man. You sign up, just let me know, and I'll toss it on the end of what you've already got. Boom. Let's get into the action. Wild Bill Irwin, there's a name. I believe my mom told me that he frequents a diner in Garland, Texas, that she often goes to. Interesting. Trying to come at me with the historical wrestling names. I love it, though. Clippers at the Pacers. First game on the docket. Projected starting five for the Clippers. Reggie Jackson, Paul George, Luke Kennard, Marcus Morris, and Ivica Zubac taking on Malcolm Brogdon, Karis LeVert, Edmund Sumner, Justin Holiday, Domantas Sabonis. A 232 total. A 3-point spread in favor of the visiting Clippers. I'm coming home. Paul George back in Indiana. No Kawhi Leonard. No Patrick Beverly. No Serge Ibaka. Paul George had to be the cover boy here. 9K on FanDuel, 87 on DraftKings. Should lead the team in minutes, should lead the team in usage. And in my soft, conservative, early projections, he is the highest fantasy scorer on the slate right now. I got him outscoring Siakam by 7 fantasy points. That could change as we get closer to lock. More news comes out. But already I can see myself having copious amounts of Paul George in my lineups. So I definitely will get there. I do think Reggie Jackson's also very, very viable. We've seen him with 30-plus fantasy point potential. Luke Kennard's interesting, not running to it, but I'm not running away from it. And if you landed on a Morris, a Zubac, somebody like that, sure. Fine in tier 3 is probably for me. On the Pacers side, looking a little bit more healthy. Miles Turner is the only mainstay for the Pacers that is out. Creates an opportunity for Domantas Sabonis to build on his already double-digit rebounds per game, and his minutes should be pretty much safe going against this Clippers front court. So I don't mind some lineups from running Sabonis at Paul George. Brogdon, LeVert, a little bit more volatile range of outcomes at this price point to satisfy what we need at that price. Same with TJ McConnell. So the bulk of my early interest is going to be on Sabonis and Paul George. I think I might have a little bit more of the role players from the Clippers than the Pacers, but a very, very high total to attack. A 232 total. So if a 6.7K Brogdon gets to 36-46 window range of outcomes, I can land there. LeVert is definitely the most uncomfortable click here, but I don't think it's out of 150 lineup access. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that's what I got here. Chad, do you got anything special on this one? I think Sabonis and Paul George are the main ones, but I definitely sign up for a little a little Reggie Jackson. Marcus Morris is interesting. I don't have to jam the plus button next to his name at 5.45K, but I think Reggie Jackson's probably the one that's most intriguing to me. Maybe it's only proper and fair that we go to the Clippers on-off court tool via Fantasy Labs. Let's take off Kawhi. Let's take off Pat Bev and just kind of see some of the numbers that we have thus far to work with. So no Beverly and I guess no Ibaka too. No Kawhi. And then we'll put Paul George and Reggie on and just see if we have a sample size worth going after. I guess it's also worth taking off Lou Williams from the Clippers side. So not a ton of minutes here, less than 100, but in that sample size, a point per minute for both Paul George and Reggie. First two guys I'm looking at, and a 35% usage rate for Paul George. And again, a little bit of a narrative game here going into Indiana. So I'm all about that. Moving on to the next game, Atlanta Hawks at the Toronto Raptors. This game's going to be much more news intensive than the previous one. The previous one seems like we have the news that we're waiting on. Trae Young, Bogdanovich, Kevin Huerter, Solomon Hill, Clint Capella. Your projected starting five for the Hawks. Trae Young is questionable. Toronto Raptors, we did learn earlier that Kyle Lowry's out, joining Fred VanVleet, putting their projected five at Malachi Flynn, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and Chris Boucher at 224.5 total, and a 2-point spread in favor of the visiting Atlanta Hawks. I'm going to pull up my injury news and notes here. I want to get to the bottom of Trae Young. Trae Young did not play the last Hawks game, and that's definitely worth noting because if he's out, it would create our first couple of value play options. He's dealing with a left a left calf contusion. Should be, quote, good to go against the Raptors. Hawks will officially update Young's status later in the day, but his initial questionable tag seems closer to probable if he does play. So if he didn't play the last time out, Bogdanovich ended up playing 41 minutes against Charlotte, was bananas, and Brandon Goodwin played 37 minutes, so kind of keep him in the back of your head if for some reason Trae Young didn't play. Looks like Trae Young's good to go. At 8,991, hey, he's got a chip in a chair for 50 fantasy points as well. And then Clint Capella, 8,500 on DraftKings. I definitely think the north side of 40 fantasy points as well within his wheelhouse as he continues his stretch of games without John Collins. He's going against a Raptors front court that is just getting demolished on the boards. A 20.5% offense rebound rate, a 75.7% defensive rebound rate. This could be upwards of a 20 rebound game for Clint Capella, and if he can get some some extra 10, 15 real points, definitely think the blocks and all that would be built in. The Raptors also tied, I believe, for most blocks allowed per game. So this absolutely smells like a upside spot for Clint Capella. If we go to blocks per game allowed and sort it by most to least, yeah, Toronto's tied for the most blocks per game allowed. So big time spot for Capella. I got him at 32 minutes. I think 32 minutes is very fine for perhaps a 1.1 fantasy point per minute production, maybe a little bit more. And then if Trae Young plays, I think he serves Capella a little bit stronger than not, right? On the Raptors side, without Lowry, without Van Vliet, we have to consider Malachi Flynn's and Gary Trent. I tier 1 Gary Trent last time out without the other point guards. It worked out in my favor finally, 9 for 17, or excuse me, 17 for 19. I didn't tier 1 him against the Knicks. I missed out on that game. That might have been over the weekend. Against Cleveland, 17 for 19, 63 fantasy points, 20 plus real points on the curtain call. At 6K, I can live with 30 plus fantasy points. And then I also I love the fact that the upside for more is built into this matchup, and without Lowry, without Van Vliet, I definitely think a stronger case for perhaps 40 plus fantasy points as a more I don't want to say median range of outcome, but I think it's more likely now. So I will have copious amounts of Gary Trent. Maybe I don't put him at the tier 1 spot today like I did in that Cleveland game, but I probably will have him as a high tier 2. Right now, I got him second most in minutes played, and then the matchup against the Hawks is really, really generous. Pascal Siakam's interesting as well. He's been probably the least consistent. 1, because of his price point, you need more, and 2, just everyone else is kind of coming through, Flynn, Trent, and Boucher at times. But Siakam shouldn't be forgotten about. He still has 50 fantasy point potential going against this Hawks team that ranks in the bottom 5 of defenses in the NBA. So there's an opportunity for the Raptors to play up. I have deep minutes really baked in for all the projected starters. Chris Boucher's right at 29.5 minutes, so I could probably push that to 30 minutes as I get closer to lock. Definitely don't mind him being a point per minute option, maybe a little bit more viable on DraftKings. But as a block heavy guy, those blocks can add up real quick on FanDuel, +3. So I prefer Clint Capella in a 1v1 if you had that expendable salary, but all the Raptors will be in the player pool. Anunoby at 7,100, he'll probably be a tier 3 guy for me. Siakam, I might meditate on that one. I feel like at that price point in the position, he's not far from a Domantas Sabonis, especially on FanDuel. And Sabonis seems a little bit stronger to me from a floor standpoint. $300 stone's throw on the FanDuel power forward position, and on DraftKings, just a couple $100 as well. So might be leaning Sabonis over Siakam, especially to hedge or leverage against my own personal Paul George exposure. But Siakam's right there in the mix and maybe shouldn't be forgot about, but I also don't think he'll carry like a weighted ownership. Bogdanovich is still going to be in the player pool for me, as Gallinari is. I think we said he was doubtful. And knowing that Chris Dunn, John Collins, other guys like that are out, I still think we're going to get deep minutes for Bogdanovich. Right now, I haven't projected for the most minutes on the team. So against the Raptors, they've been really, really bad, and they're especially bad against the three-point shot, giving up over 41 real points a game to the three ball. I think Bogdanovich is going to be way more scoring dependent than you want him to be, but the shot volume should be there. Definitely could contest for 20 shot attempts, and a lot of those can be from behind the arc. Against Charlotte, he took 16 chucks from behind the arc. So very scoring dependent, but very viable considering the matchup, considering the shortage of staff that the Hawks are going to be suffering from today. So I definitely think this game's going to be a source of a lot of interest for me. Yeah, let me get caught up on chat before we move on. DeAndre Bembry, maybe, but I'm not pushing the issue. The Raptors, it had to be noted that the Raptors are deeper than perceived now. Just because Van Vliet and Lowry are out, that I still got 10 guys getting over 10 minutes. So it's not like the 8-man rotation spots that we've seen earlier in the season. I still don't like nobody off this bench here, anybody that I want to go after. But Bembry's only a guy I would really want to play if I saw him at 30 minutes. And right now I don't got him at such, unless something happened between now and lock to change that, right? Guzman diagnosed with torn minutes. Dang. How many minutes do you have Capella? Right now I got him at 32. Is Capella at tier 1? Capella's matchup certainly a tier 1. So what I would do right now if I was going game by game, I'd probably write him down in pencil as a tier 2. And then as I started weighing the options a little bit more, I would decide on whether or not to promote him. But he has a tier 1 opportunity, a tier 1 matchup. No Gallinari, no John Collins. The matchup is super pristine for rebounds and blocks. That's kind of his strengths. So absolutely has the ability to be promoted to the tier 1 level for me, but I don't want to make that commitment just yet. He's averaging 48 fantasy points in 2 games against them in just 28 minutes, so there's a strong chance he gets to tier 1 before I'm done. Last couple centers against the Toronto Raptors. Nerlens Noel just dropped 36.75 in 29 minutes. He had 4 blocks that game. Kevin Love, 26 and 21 minutes. These are DKP. Vucevic, almost 40 in 32 minutes. Marc Gasol, 38 in 28 minutes. And Alex Len, 29 30 minutes. So those are incredibly average, other than Vucevic, incredibly average to below average fantasy producers on a nightly basis going over a point per minute. So absolutely no pushback on if you got to put in Capella as a tier 1. No pushback here because it makes too much sense. Let me get caught up. Boucher's matchup looks just as good. He dropped the 50 burger. So the thing with Boucher, I think Boucher's floor is, I think we can all admit, way lower than Capella's floor, right? You give him the same amount of minutes. Boucher's floor can be more volatile. So I'll have more Capella because of that. I think Capella is just a rock, but Boucher has the propensity to break a slate, and we've seen that in the last couple games as well. But the volatility leans me to seesaw my ownership to Capella a little bit more. Not to say I'm not going to have Boucher, but I'm going to have likely maybe 2-1, 3-1 Capella versus Boucher shares. Y'all know. Yali says, Yo Gun, 1v1 Gary Trent versus Davonte Graham. Probably Davonte Graham just because his... Man, what? Okay, so Davonte Graham's going to be without everyone, so they could just get rolled over and smacked on. But Graham's floor is risen by his... Is it risen or raised? It's raised, right? It is raised by his assist numbers 7, 5, 5, 6, a couple boards. But with Gary Trent, I feel like we're leaning to be a little bit more shot dependent. So if I'm just trying to set ownerships based on the safety, I think Gary Trent has a little bit more risk because he's more scoring dependent. I will say that even with all these people out, I don't know if I'm 100% sure that Davonte Graham could play the same amount of minutes as Gary Trent. You would think so, but it just seems like Davonte Graham has this like glass ceiling of like 30 minutes. So I'll probably have more. I'll probably have more Davonte Graham than Gary. But let me asterisk that and say that could change. But Gary has more competition, right? Flynn could pop, Siakam could pop, Boucher could pop, and if you're scoring dependent, if you're not getting those real buckets, then you're not. You know what I'm saying? Davonte Graham, if his teammates do well, Miles Bridges, Cody Zeller, at least we can say, all right, his assist rate is going to be high, so he'll probably have a hand in that anyway. That game's just really kind of ugly, but I probably have more Graham than Trent right now. Horrible news on Murray. Yeah, that was tough. Jamal Murray, of course, he's kind of that incident has sparked a lot of debate on the schedule, the short turnaround season, and I think it is like a healthy conversation. And it's not even just this season. I also just think in general, back-to-backs in the NBA are so rough, and I think this year's a little bit safer because there's just been a lot of back-to-backs in the same city, but just in years prior to play like a back-to-back in like Miami and then fly to like Denver in the altitude, like the human body was not meant to do that. And NBA is rigorous, 36 minutes of up and down the court sprints and physical contact, like that's tough. So maybe the NBA uses that as a reason to reevaluate how their scheduling goes. If it were up to me, I would just say no more back-to-backs in the NBA, and maybe be a little bit more smart about scheduling the travel. When they had bubble basketball and it was 6 games every day, even though it was staggered all day, I loved having 6 games every day. Like, it was not overwhelming. So maybe that's a little bit selfish on my behalf from a DFS standpoint, because they have their TV contract set up to have like 2 games on Thursdays, and they don't want all these other games competing. But a 6 game every day, no back-to-back schedule, is that impossible? Like, that would be a dream for me. Maybe 6 to 8. Anyway, let's move on to the next game here. The Charlotte Hornets hosting the Los Angeles Lakers. Project starting 5 for the Lakers: Dennis Schroeder, Kentavious Caldwell Pope, Kyle Kuzma, Markieff Morris, and maybe Andre the Giant Drummond, taking on Davonte, Moonlight, Graham, friend of the channel, Caleb Martin, Jalen McDaniels, Miles Bridges, and Cody Zeller. What? Lakers just a 1-point favorite against this lineup, but it's because they have a laundry list of Q tags and uncertainty, and they're already down without their franchise players in LeBron and Anthony Davis. So we're going to go check out the Lakers injury news and notes. We'll start from the very tippy top. Dennis Schroeder, pelvis bruise. Kyle Kuzma, left calf strain. And Wesley Matthews, right Achilles tightness are all probable, so we can upgrade that. Then we'll go down to Andre Drummond, who's listed as questionable with left elbow impingement, and Marc Gasol is listed as questionable with a hamstring. Drummond only scored 3 points on 3 shot attempts in Monday's loss to the Knicks, presumably because his elbow was bothering him. Kuzma, Schroeder, Matthews probable. So while LeBron and AD remain out, there's plenty of moving pieces on the injury report, especially in this front court. So I'm going to put it like this. If Marc Gasol is out, even if Drummond just got the same 25 minutes yesterday, I believe the 25 minutes against the Hornets are worth more than the 25 minutes against the New York Knicks. The Knicks are one of the better defenses in basketball and definitely have size in the front court to make you struggle. If we go to defensive rating, the Knicks have the 4th best defensive rating in all of basketball, and the Charlotte Hornets are going to be bottom half of the league when they're fully healthy, and then you take out almost all of their starters. You can only assume that they go backwards with replacement level players. So a better spot for Drummond, and definitely a better rebound spot for Drummond as well. So I'd almost be an investor in Drummond at 6-7. I would probably really just like Drummond to get rolled out and Marc Gasol to get rolled out. But if I got Drummond out, then I can load up on 5.5K Montrezl Harrell. That's just way too cheap. If those extra minutes opened up, I think Harrell could be a point per minute, maybe even a 1.1, 1.2 point per minute guy in this matchup. So can I get to 30 plus fantasy points pretty easily at 5.5K on DraftKings, and the same on FanDuel? Yes. It's kind of crazy that the Hornets this week is just a 1-point dog at home. But if we trust Vegas on that, Davonte Graham 6'6", 6'3", the minutes should be there for him. He has no back. I mean, he's got Brad Wanamaker, and that's kind of it. Like, Terry Rozier doubtful, Malik Monk out, Gordon Hayward, LaMelo's out. Like, these are some of the only ball handlers and playmakers for the Hornets, and Davonte Graham is the last of the Mohicans. So at 6'6", 6'3", I'd probably look for a double-double, right? Could I get to 10 assists and 15 real points? I think it's possible. I think his ownership's going to be up there. Maybe his ceiling's not as high as you would want it, but I can't get away from it. I think the usage and the minutes should just be there. Just for the heck of it, we can run a usage check with the on-off court tool, but I got to imagine there's not much of no Hornets and Davonte in, because Davonte has been a guy that's missed a nice chunk of games as well. So Hayward, LaMelo, Terry Rozier off, and then PJ Washington, another guy that they're going to be sorely missing. So I think just taking these guys off the court, I don't even have to put Davonte on, but with 81 minutes of sample size for Davonte in there, 27% usage rate. Monk's got to be off. Monk's going to destroy this. It's going to probably bring it down to like 40 minutes. And for Graham, it's at 37 minutes. 28% usage rate. Yeah, so not enough minutes to really rely on. But in those minutes, a 1.3 fantasy point per minute. Is that sustainable? Probably not, but could it still be at a 1 point fantasy point per minute? Yeah, probably. And at 6K, yeah, I'll take it. The rest of the Hornets become a little bit harder to trust, but I think Miles Bridges is going to have to lead the pack, and I might even have more Miles Bridges than Devontae Graham. I got him at 38 minutes, which is amongst the highest on the entire slate. If I go to my player projections and sort it by minute projections, Miles Bridges is going to be number 1 in minutes projected. So I mean, that's just an opportunity at a lot of minutes on a team where usage can go any which way, and Bridges is pretty talented. So at 6K, I don't even need a point per minute, but if I got a point per minute, I'd be in heaven if he lived up to a 38-minute projection. Past that, you might look at Zeller or Wanamaker to surprise you. I think Wanamaker at 3,800 on DK definitely has a case. I haven't looked at like ownerships or anything like that, but if this is the rotation that ends up being what we see closer to lock, I think Bradley Wanamaker at under 4K on DraftKings would probably gravitate towards some ownership as a value play on DraftKings. 28 minutes against the Hawks, 25 fantasy points, 23-25 his last couple games, 27 against Indiana. Yeah, so if we're putting, I think Bradley Wanamaker has to be one of the core value plays on DK. FanDuel going to be a little tougher to fit him in there as a $4,600 point guard, but he's not out of the player pool, but on DK, probably a core value option for me. And then on the Lakers side, I would say I have been kind of avoiding the Lakers as a whole because they haven't drawn like elite matchups. But Dennis Schroeder, 6,500 against a Hornets team. This is going to be one of the better matchups the Lakers have faced in a while. I think Schroeder could easily maybe return 6x. And there's a case to be made that in a 1v1, Schroeder just might straight up outscore Devontae Graham in the same game. And I think Devontae Graham might win the seesaw battle on ownership. I'll pull up Schroeder's game log here. Remember, he is probable. 37 minutes against the Knicks. Knicks, again, a top 4 defense. Only 20 minutes in a blowout against the Brooklyn Nets, over a point per minute. Miami, 38 fantasy points in 40 minutes. Like, there's definitely a case to be made that Dennis Schroeder could outscore Devontae Graham, and also just a case that he's too cheap on DK. So I'm there on that. Kuzma's probably playable. Maybe not as much confidence on him as Schroeder, but he's playable. And like I said, Drummond would be right there in the mix. We got to keep an eye on the injury report on the center situation for LA, but plenty to like here and plenty of opportunity to go around minutes wise, really for both teams, but especially on the Hornets side. See what you guys got in the live chat before we move on. Give me some Brad Wanamaker. Yes, sir. Iceman King Parsons. Mama said it'd be that way sometimes. Zubak. Yeah. I trained with his nephew for like 1 or 2 sessions. I don't remember his name. Or at least he claimed to be Iceman King Parsons' nephew. McDaniels, like Jalen McDaniels, yeah. I think on 4,300 on DraftKings, it probably would be higher owned and easier to get to. 6K on FanDuel, I'm looking for 30-plus fantasy points. Little tougher ask. But at 4,300 on DraftKings, sure, I can live with 25. Do I think they sit Drummond? I mean, if he's actually hurt, they got to be smart about it. And this, I tell you what, this is a matchup where you could probably get away if you had to. What if Montrezl Harrell's healthy? Just let Montrezl eat. Like, this is a dream matchup for him. Just let him eat. So just go with that. But like in stints, you could probably get away with Markieff Morris as a stretch 5 against this smaller Hornets team. So I don't think they're short staffed. Like, I think they could play small ball in this game if they really, really wanted to, and you had to sit a Drummond and or a Gasol. But you take out Drummond, and I'm all about some Montrezl Harrell, man. Can we stack Bridges and Graham? Yeah, I think that'll be a very common handcuff. I think they're very playable individually. I also think Miles Bridges is a guy I'll have more of than Davonte. But yeah, absolutely, you can put them together or you can play them individually. Don't necessarily need to correlate that either because of the minutes and the opportunity. Moving on to the next game here, the Oklahoma City Thunder at the Utah Jazz. Project 35 for the Thunder, Theo Maledon, Lou Dort, Kenrich Williams, Darius Baisley, and Moses Brown. Taking on Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Bojan Bogdanovich, Gorgeous Yang, and Rudy Gobert. We got 2-2-2 and another one, 2 is our total. A 16.5-point spread in favor of the Utah Jazz. That may wiggle a little bit. We did get news that Jordan Clarkson is doubtful, Joe Ingles is out, and Royce O'Neal is out. And while that may not be like overly impactful in terms of guys that like are high usage guys, it does represent quite a bit of minutes. Joe Ingles on the season averaging, I guess they don't have his minute average, but look at a lot of 30-minute games here for him. Jordan Clarkson could be a 25-minute, 20 real point guy, and Royce O'Neal for what his job is on that defense, the shadow defense against the other team's number one. He plays a lot of 32, 35-minute games too, so you do have a need and a responsibility to replace those minutes, and that's very notable. With that said, I think Mike Conley could live up to a strong game. I think Donovan Mitchell could curtain call a 50 fantasy point game. And then Rudy Gobert's right there in the thick of things at 8K. Could he get 40 plus fantasy points? Yes. Do we get to some of these more volatile value shots on the Utah Jazz? I would say if value got a little too chalky elsewhere, maybe we do our due diligence here and dig a little bit deeper. Looking at their depth chart, they have Ersan Ilyasova, Jarrell Brantley, Derek Favors, guys like that. I'm not going to commit myself to those guys, but maybe as we get closer to lock, we try and open up minutes. Ersan is a guy that we've seen be somewhat efficient as a player in the past. I don't even know if he's like in the rotation right now, but someone that's not in the rotation likely has to be in the rotation now. 2 minutes against Portland, 13th. Yeah, so that could go any which way. So maybe we wait for some quotes from Snyder. Maybe I'll talk to the homie Jake a little bit, kind of see if we can get a tell on that. But I would lean on the big three for now, Conley, Mitchell, Gobert. And then the 16.5-point spread also just makes you kind of scared to even touch this game. So on a 6-game slate, if we can X one out, sure. I feel like there's a Jazz that might be viable at the end of the night. Bojan seems pretty intriguing. And then on the Thunder side, it's just a bunch of 5-6K average ranges of outcomes. You don't really see like one guy that should crush their price point. So I would probably be erring on the side of caution here and probably full fading Thunder. Chat, you guys you guys think anyone here goes nuts here? This seems like a very spread out minute rotation. I got no one other than Baisley over 30 minutes projected. I got no one projected for 30 fantasy points. So I really don't see a reason to come here if I have to, other than to be a little bit different in the field and maybe play some game theory, play some leverage. But even if I wanted to do that, I wouldn't have to get too invested. So, yeah, I think Donovan Mitchell is kind of the 9K guy that might get lost in the sauce here and be just fine. Even in 3 quarters, you can maybe see one of those big 40-point games. He would have to probably deal with some Lou Dort defense. And if that did kind of push some scoring towards Gobert to Conley or something like that, even Bojan, so be it. Maybe take some stabs at those guys. But for the most part, I can see myself not having much of this game. Let's get caught up on chat, see what you guys got. What's up, Josh Ghostface Ilyasova? Ersan Ilyasova, a perennial leader in charges drawn. It's a fun fact about him. Shaq. Man. Are you talking about from the Jazz? Gorgeous Nang, maybe. I guess Nang at 3,100. Like, if he's just getting, even if he doesn't get all of Royce O'Neal's minutes, he's already getting about 10. If he got half of Royce O'Neal minutes and got to like 25, 28 at $100 above min, maybe we get to him as a stocking stuffer value play on DK. Maybe. And then on the Thunder side, Pokuszewski is out. He had been a really good role player for them, and it had some large fantasy nights for them as well. I don't think if I lateraled from him, it'd probably be to like a Darius Baisley, not having to deal with Royce O'Neal. I think that would be a plus for him. 5'8", 5'5". I'm looking for 30 plus fantasy points. It's viable. Tony Bradley revenge game, if you want to play that. He might get 20 plus minutes and play against some of his old friends. Let's move on to the next game here. The Miami Heat at the Phoenix Suns. Just 2 games left. We're almost done, man. It's quick. Project starting 5 for the Heat. Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy G, Buckets, Trevor Ariza, and Bam Adebayo. Shaq Harrison's on the Nuggets. That's weird. Oh, okay. Yeah. I see what he's saying now. Up against Chris Paul, Devin Booker, McCall Bridges, Jay Crowder, and DeAndre Ayton. The reason I said that was weird because the Nuggets weren't on the slate. I was like, what? 217 is our total 3-point spread in favor of the home team Phoenix Suns. Victor Oladipo is out, which makes me think maybe Jimmy Butler goes back to triple-double every night. Jimmy Butler, if not, but for one night, he is going against a tough matchup in the Phoenix Suns. But, hey, Jimmy likes to thrive in tough matchups. I got him at almost 36 minutes here. I got him at 44 fantasy points. But is there a range of outcomes where 50 fantasy points is the product? I think so. Same with Bam Adebayo. I could put these guys together. I think these are two grindier teams. Phoenix at home is pretty tough, and their defense projects pretty well. But I can get to this game on a 6-game slate and look for some high-end production at the 9K price point on Butler and Adebayo. I'm probably not going to dumpster dive here. We might get into some more narratives. If I mention Tony Bradley, I can mention Goran Dragic for some homecoming warm and fuzzies. Maybe he gets the homecoming start over Nunn. But yeah, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, spin the wheel, make a deal. Can they get to 6x on that price point? It's possible. I think DeAndre Ayton's a little bit more intriguing at 68. He has put together a stretch of 30-plus fantasy point games. This matchup definitely gets a little tougher going against Bam Adebayo defensively. But from a fantasy point standpoint, 30-plus fantasy points in his last 5 or so games. Really good stretch of matchups outside of Utah, but Utah needed 41 minutes to get to 40-plus fantasy points. But at under 7K, if you're looking for a chip in a chair opportunity at 30-plus fantasy points, it's there. No priorities in this game, but I am curious on Butler without Oladipo. Let's see what you guys got in the chat. Giuliano, late on this, but how many minutes do you have for Solomon Hill? Control F, Solomon Hill. I have Solomon right now I put him at 33 minutes. Not a big point per minute guy, but I do have him at enough minutes to punt him if you're down bad for some value. Overall, this game should play pretty slow in pace. Both teams bottom third, bottom fourth in pace rating in the league. Offensively, the Suns look like they have the advantage. Maybe they should be a larger favorite than they are. But I do like Jimmy against all odds. We have 1 game left on the docket. Take a pause for the cause, let you guys know. In about 30-40 minutes. Honestly, I need to make a DoorDash order. I need to order probably a Subway sandwich. In about 40-50 minutes, I'll be in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord until lock, dueling locks. I'll be in the NBA voice chat, but we will be there to chop up, talk about, hang out, and make our player polls for not just NBA, but also MLB as well. If you guys haven't seen that, it is a perk of having a subscription at RunDFS.com. Once you sign up, click forums, find the onboarding thread, and there's going to be links to the MLB spreadsheet, links to the NBA spreadsheet, and also a link to the RunDFS.com VIP Discord. When you get in that Discord, say what's up, jump in any of these channels. NBA and baseball is kind of where it's at, but this right here, when you scroll down, click NBA chat. Whether you have a mic or not, you can jump in, listen into the conversation before lock. It can get entertaining at times, a lot of Jordan versus LeBron debates, but we have fun, and it's a good part of my process every day, and you guys are more than welcome to grab a mic, join in, make some friends. It's kind of a soft night for NBA. a larger night for baseball. A lot of aces on the slate tonight. But yeah, get in on that. And then if you guys had any questions, comments, concerns, you guys can DM me on Twitter or on Discord. And if you needed some help with something process wise or opto or something like that, I don't mind hooking up with you. I did order a DoorDash. And yeah, anything else in chat before we get to the main event here? Later, chat, locking in Hill for value. You like Solomon Hill a lot for value. I don't I don't think it's a bad place to land, but it's at the end of the day, it's still Solomon Hill. So a wide range of outcomes on him, giving you anything from 15 to 30 fantasy points. Matchup is definitely a matchup you can get the better of. 38 minutes against Charlotte, 26 fantasy points. So you kind of see what I'm saying is he's not going to be a point per minute guy more often than he is, but there is a world where he gets to 25 fantasy points, and that could be enough at 4K, even if it's a 0.7 fantasy point per minute. But like against New Orleans, one of the worst defenses in basketball, 30 minutes played, 15 fantasy points. That's the risk. If he's going to be a 20, 30, 40% owned guy and only gets you 15, you're probably not going to hit a tournament. So plenty of reason to like him, but also understand that he's inherently going to come with some risk just because his efficiency fantasy-wise is not that consistent. Kemba Walker, tier 1. I don't know. We'll see. Celtics at the Blazers. Main event tonight. Projects 25 for the Celtics. Kemba Walker, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Robert Williams, the Time Lord, taking on Dame Dollar. Making money ain't new to him. CJ McCollum, Norman Powell, Robert Covington, Yusuf Nurkic, a 230 total, a 1-point spread in favor of the home team, Portland Trail Blazers. Kemba Walker as a tier 1. That's strong, but I wouldn't push back. The only reason, the only maybe pushback I would have is the options at the 6K area for guards today do have some upside. The Davonte Grahams, the Gary Trents, even Malcolm Brogdon's, guys like that. So I definitely like Kemba. I think Kemba's floor is pretty solid out of all those guys. And then, matchup is fine. The total's fine. If you ended up with a tier 1 Kemba, definitely wouldn't push back on that. Marcus Smart's very viable. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, spin the wheel, make a deal on those two. Could we get 40 to 50 as a range of outcome? Yes. With Tatum, you kind of need that 50. And then Robert Williams, could he get to 30? Sure. I'm really hoping I can open up Montrezl Harrell. Please give me Drummond out. And I can just lock in Harrell and go for it. On the Blazers side, Damian Lillard, south side of 9K on FanDuel, 9,500 on DraftKings. At 95, really on both sides, I really want a shot at 50 fantasy points. It's viable. I got him as the second most minutes on the entire slate behind the aforementioned Miles Bridges. And then the DKP, the fantasy point median range of outcome, is a lot lower than it once was because McCollum, Norman Powell, both guys that can score pretty well. And then Yusuf Nurkic, when he does play, is involved. So I would probably have Lillard as a tier 3, but the minutes should be there as a home guy against a statement game opportunity. Celtics, one of the top 4, top 5 teams every year in the East. So not a lot of tier 1s for me in this game. I guess if I had to pick one, Kemba's right up there as a guy that can give me a solid 30-plus fantasy point floor with a range of outcomes of 40-plus because of the matchup. But I could definitely see myself not tier 1ing much from this game, but I will have exposure to the game because there are ranges of outcomes of McCollum dropping 40, Brown dropping 40, Tatum getting to 50. So definitely going to have exposure, but not aggressive exposure. Chat, hit me with your hot takes, your lasting questions, comments, concerns, anything like that. We've got plenty of time to revisit some spots if maybe you're late or something like that. I definitely got time today to help you guys maybe talk through it. But you know what I'm saying? I'll give you what I would do. I don't want to tell you what you should do. Donovan says Gallo was in that spot. It's more opportunities against Doo-Doo Toronto. I mean, I don't disagree. But also wasn't Trae Young out? I get it. I definitely I don't want to say it's a waste of time to debate Solomon Hill, but for every good, there's a bad. You know what I'm saying? So Solomon Hill's fine. If you got Solomon Hill to 38 minutes, it'd be hard not to land there. But I'm just saying, at 30 minutes, it's not a guarantee that he's going to be a crazy good value play. Just in general, though, value on the slate, I'm sure he's going to project well anyway, just for the minutes. But if I'm looking for DraftKings value, I'm gonna assume Brad Wanamaker, at the top. Caleb Martin, all the Hornets are in the top 4 right now for me. If we're looking for Solomon Hill, see what the projections have him at. He's at 5x value. I got him for 20 fantasy points on 33 minutes. So, like, would you hate 20 at 4K? That's up to you to answer. Usually, I want more from my value guys in terms of ROI than my 8-9K guys. There is a range outcome that he dominates and drops 30 fantasy points, and he's the nuts. But just I definitely think he has way more volatility than I won't want to be aggressive on. So I probably have 20%, maybe 25. Guards feast against Portland. Yeah, I don't mind Kemba at all. I think Kemba's really cheap, been really consistent. Last couple guards against Portland, if I'm looking at the last 5. Kendrick Nunn, about a point per minute. And then it gets ugly. It's like Maladon, Dennis Smith, Mike Conley. They've actually, like right now, in the recent 5, Portland has been like the toughest matchup. But on the season, I think we know that is due for regression. And they just had the benefit of a couple of low usage guys. Portland on the season, bottom 10 in fantasy points allowed. So I don't mind Kemba at all. I don't know if I get to tier 1 Kemba either. Now that we've talked about the whole slate, if I had to go back and tier 1 some guys early on, I still think we're still waiting on more news. Like, if Andre Drummond got ruled out, I'm probably going to tier 1 Montrezl Harrell. But Paul George might be a tier 1 for me. Clint Capella might be a tier 1 for me. And then Devonte Graham, coin flipping him with Gary Trent. I think Devonte Graham wins the coin flip. So those are kind of names. I'm like, what an ugly batch of names. There's no like studs. There's no 10K players on this slate. So it's going to create some very unique, different lineups. Damian Lillard at 9.5 is your highest priced guy. Then Mitchell in a 16-point spread. So we're going to see some very unique lineups, and hopefully not a whole bunch of 70 and 60 fantasy point games, right? Giuliano says, you up on my guy TJ McConnell as a tournament dart? Yeah, tournament dart. If you saw, like, I think for him to be in the player pool at 6'1", 5'5", probably 25 minutes, about what you want. He can be a point per minute, right? But at what point are you paying for ceiling on a median range outcome scale? Like, for McConnell to really get through to that ceiling, I probably want 30 minutes. Otherwise, if I get 30 at 6'1", was it worth the risk reward? Probably not. But like, if you have him in your pool, I'm not going to push back. 5'5" seems a little bit friendlier. What center do I like? I really like Clint Capella. If you guys missed my pitch on Clint Capella, I'll go through it again. The Raptors have amongst the worst rebound rates in basketball, 20.5% offensively, 75.7% defensively, and team metric chart will show you that they are tied for giving up the most blocks per game allowed in the league. You parlay that with the fact that the Hawks are down John Collins and down Danilo Gallinari, you probably get a safe minute projection on Clint Capella at 32 minutes. So it's a great matchup. And if you want some BVP in your life, Capella has played against the Raptors twice this season. In those 2 games, he's averaging 48 fantasy points in just 28 minutes. So Capella's probably my favorite raw point guy, and arguably my top points per dollar guy, unless Montrezl Harrell gets open for me. Is Lou Dort in play? Not for me. 30 minutes, chipping a chair for 30 plus, sure, go for it. What's up, Brandon? You rocking with Flynn tonight? Yeah, you gotta have some Flynn. Again, 5'2", 5'4" on DK. I want 30 fantasy points, but against the Atlanta Hawks, total's going to be high enough. The minute projection is going to be high enough without Van Vliet, without Lowry. I probably have some. Am I overly aggressive? Probably not. Like, it's probably not a tier 1, but probably be a low tier 2 for me. 30's the mark, and I think 30 is closer to the median outcome in this one for me. Tatum crushes Portland. Yes. Let's put maybe some substance to that. Jason Tatum's just a stud, right? Game log versus Blazers, last 10 games. But like, if we look at history against the Blazers front court, just like be aware that there was a stretch of like Carmelo Anthony and Enes Kanter and not Rocco and Nurkic. Nurkic's still on a minute restriction, but and he hasn't played against Portland since 2020. So August, wasn't Nurkic injured? I think he's fine, but at this price point, like if we're going solely off of history, at this price point, he doesn't really crush per se, but the last game was glorious. So I'm definitely like, I'll have some Jason Tatum, but with the Celtics, I'll just have a spray and pray tier 3 approach. But the matchup is a little tougher now. The more minutes of Nurkic and the more minutes of Rocco versus like Carmelo and Enes Kanter, way different front court defensively at least. Tony Bradley revenge, yep. Playing Hill on FanDuel, sorry, not DK, yep. Bam and Moses FanDuel tourney centers for me. I can get down with that. I think Adebayo is very, very interesting. Moses Brown is, I mean, that's a hero ball call, but like I'm not going to talk you off of that. Like I said, if Montrezl Harrell opened up for me against the Hornets, I'm there. But I just love Clint Capella. And Capella, those blocks add up on FanDuel a lot quicker than they do on DK, so I don't mind that. In Tatum career, I meant. All right, okay. Well, we'll just look at the last couple. We don't want to go too far back in career game logs. We like to look at a little bit of recency, so we're already dipping back to the end of last season. That is the slate, man. If you guys got anything else for me, twitter.com/gundackers, how you guys can get in touch. My DMs are open, man. I definitely appreciate you guys making part of my day, be part of your day. If you're playing baseball tonight, we did a baseball stream earlier, and replay value on that's pretty doggone strong until lock. Otherwise, I'll be in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord voice chat. In about 30-40 minutes, we have a late NBA lock. Should be a low-pressure night news-wise for NBA. And then hopefully we'll make money on both NBA and baseball. If you guys want to be part of it, go get yourself a VIP account. Join the Millionaires Club. We got a lot of cats winning a lot of money, spearheaded by Always Be Placing, winning his second Millionaire Maker in 5 months. Nuts. He did it by himself, though. I just want to say he's part of the Discord, but he completely won it by himself. I know nothing about golf. Shout out to him. But shout out to you guys. Hit that thumbs up on your way out. I would sorely appreciate it. Otherwise, I love you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow right here. More baseball, more basketball. Good luck. God bless, and go win some money.